Welcome to part 2 of DevOps philosophy. My name is Tomasz Borštner. So what is DevOps? DevOps is generally hard to define because it is more than just developers working things that operations used to do. It's basically, in a way, a total cultural change. So if you want to be DevOps, you need to totally change the way how you do things and how you think. So you always want to be agile, so you want to be fast, you want to be lean, you don't want to do anything unneeded. Generally, from the business perspective, this means that you want to do minimum viable product and you need to be business driven. Automation, if you want to deploy things like several times per day, you need to automate everything. You need to improve speed, you need to improve reliability, and you need to reduce the effort. So you don't want people to do manual work. Generally, in every new change that you introduce, you want to optimize, you want to eliminate anything that does not add value, which is extremely important. And the most important part, you want to measure everything. You want to gather analytics. You want everything analyzed. You want to know how long does it take to produce the code, how long does it take to test it, how long does it take to deploy things, what is the mean time between problems and so on. And also important part is sharing. Basically, all the people involved share the same fate and the same goals. So they all want to be code to be fast, to be reliable, to work as expected, to not have any problems, and to actually produce business value. So we have a Colmes model, which basically means that whenever we want to do something, of course, we always start with planning. But this is a constant cycle where we plan, then we write the code, we build that code, test the code, release it to the operations then deploy it, operate it, and all this is being monitored all the time. And all the good things or the bad things that were discovered during this process are then injected back into the process to make everything faster, more reliable, and in the end, lean. So if you do some breakdown, what does it mean that this is a totally new culture? It means using different habits. So the most important part is trust and respect. Developers must trust operations that what they do is in their best interest. They need to respect each other so that they're experts in what they do. They need to collaborate, and the most important, no blaming, no victims, because they all share common goals. And yes, this is a big change from the management perspective. The other part that I already mentioned is automation. You want to use as much as possible tools to make everything as predictable as possible, to make everything exactly the same. For example, in these days, it is really important to be able to run the code on multiple locations. It could be for the disaster recovery, it could be for the scaling part, it could be for economy reasons. So by using the tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Terraform, we make the infrastructure to be exactly the same. So it does not matter whether this is a cloud deployment, on-premise deployment, test deployment. It could be even for a developer testing environment. It is generally exactly the same. Yes, you use different IP addresses, you use different passwords, you use copy of the actual data. But other than that, it is exactly the same. The next part is lean. So whatever you do, you want to see which parts are not needed, which parts could be optimized, which parts are generally maybe not working so good at this stage of the development. So you want to remove everything which is not giving you business value, in short. And the next important part is measuring. You want to measure time to repair. So whenever there is something you want to generally know how long would it take for you to fix it. You want to know why something happened. You want to make sure that it will not happen like it did in the previous times. You want to know the number of frequency. So for example, if you remember service level agreements, those 9s, you want to have as slow outages as possible, but important is number and the frequency. For example, it's not the same if you have 300 short interruptions for few seconds, or if you have one big interruption for 5 or 10 minutes. So for the 9s, it's exactly the same, but how users perceive such interruptions could be totally different. You want to know the cost of resources. You want to know which resources you use, why you use them. It is important that you do user acceptance testing, so that you know that everything responds and works like it should. So in short, you want to measure everything. You want to measure how long does it take to compile a software, how long does it take to package it, how long does it take to set up a test environment, how long does it take to set up a production environment. So measurement is important part of the DevOps philosophy. And the last part, sharing. You want to share code, you want to share ideas, problems, you want to share all the issues, all the bugs, all the good solutions. You want to use solutions where everybody who is part of the project is able to see who did what. They're able to see new code which is not yet part of the main code. And you want quick notification. So generally you want to use tools like Webex Teams, Slack, basically any tool which can let you notify all the parties much, much faster, so they're able to react faster as well. Thank you for viewing this topic, DevOps philosophy.